Good evening. Hello,
Good
everyone. How are we, Matt?
I'm very well, thank you. It's been nice to have a long weekend
Indeed.
in the UK for the holiday.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
it's been nice to have a bit of a rest. So I'm
Yes.
back and fighting fit today. So.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. And you're not Margaret today, by the way. I did introduce you as Matt. So there we go.
How are
That
you
one's
doing,
done.
mate? Are you all right?
I am good. I am good. I had a nice weekend, chilled out, managed to catch up with some just fun dev stuff that I was working on as well. Inspired by some of our previous sessions with Go. So yeah, I've been really focusing on that, which has been a bit of fun.
And you had a Go video go out recently as well, didn't you?
Go video, Go blog.
Go blog, yeah, going everywhere.
Oh, go. That's what it is. There we go. We lasted, 2 minutes without any puns? Good. Moving swiftly on. There we go. A swift joke in there. Love it. Today, we are going to cover, I guess, bringing stuff together, aren't we? That's kind of the aim for this one.
Yeah.
We've done some Go. We did that kind of player decisions API. I'm just turning the volume down slightly on the audio. It was a bit loud in the background there. We had the REST API. We've got the kind of decision engine going on, and we were going to start coupling some of those. Well, not coupling, but bringing some of those things together. So I think that's the plan for this session, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's also a bit of a recap that we need to have about what we've actually got.
Yep.
Because I think there's. I was having a quick look at it today, and I'm not sure whether or not we need one of the things we've got in there anymore.
And that's fair enough. That's okay.
There's nothing more satisfying than deleting code.
Exactly. If you measured a project by the number of lines you write, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
Do you want to take us away then, Matt? Let's take it through.
Okay. So, for the purpose of recapping... Oh, hang on. I'm clicking the wrong screen. That's never going to work.
There we go.
Right, so we have the player decisions engine. And this is a HTTP API designed to register decisions that a player makes and save those to state.
Good.
Because if I remember rightly, we were using Dapper from last time. There we go. And we have the Dapper save state call to be able to store those to somewhere.
Yes, we did. I forgot we had a Dapper in at the last minute as well. That was a very productive session, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was we got quite a lot done.
Yeah.
And then we've also got our world engine, which is a very similar thing, but written in .NET, which looks at the state of the players or what the players have done, and then adds events from a world point of view.
Yep.
So individuals will make their own choices, and then the world will impact the player's state.
Yep.
On a schedule. What that schedule is, we don't know, doesn't matter. Future us can sort that out.
Yeah.
The one that's throwing me when I was looking at it today is we have this other player state one.
Okay.
And I can't remember for the life of me what past us said this one was for. So this is future us now going, what were you talking about past?
Awesome. And this is where real world project we'd have loads of design decisions and docs and things.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. So I think, my gut feel is I think we've duplicated some stuff.
Probably. I suspect we probably have.
We've created the player state management twice.
Cool.
And I think actually by using Dapper, what we've done is effectively abstract all this away. I think this was originally supposed to be the API for state saving that data, but we've now baked it into the decision engine.
Which is fair enough. Yeah, which is fair enough.
Now,
I mean, we can always... Go on, mate.
No, you go ahead first.
I was just going to say, we could always leave it there for the time being, just for the sake of this stream, and then figure out what we do with that in between, maybe. and we'll just do a bit of an update on the next one. But it's a good observation, a good spot. Past us, I think they're so clever.
Yeah, and I think it still creates. We still have the same potential problem, but actually we've now deferred it now to the data store, and if we're using Gapper, it shouldn't matter.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
So, in theory, we should now be able to get, and this is going to be an interesting question, actually. If we go back to our world engine,
yep.
If we're saving individual player decisions,
which we are, yep.
Difference. Is that the difference that the player state is there for? Because the player state is
the overall player state rather than the decisions.
Value of what that player has.
Yes.
Whereas the decision is an individual action that they have taken against that state.
But see, I wouldn't, and I think you're right exactly what you said there. I wouldn't say that was your fault misinterpreting the two, though. I think we've got a naming problem there that we need to fix. I think is the key part of that. Which we can, again, we can maybe take a look at that separately and fix that. Because it's effectively like you use a reaction or a world event decision or so. But anyway, we'll come back to that rather than spend an hour debating names and things. So what we want to go on,
I was going to say, I think it raises an interesting question about our data model. Like, what are we saving?
Yes.
Because now we've got one store for state and one store for effectively the events that will happen against that state.
So I think there's a few things. If I kind of try and explain what's in my mind, how I see it working. We start with state 0. World gets created. There we go. Players sign up and the game begins. World events engine, every tick, whatever the tick is going to generate some world events that player has to react to. So players react to that through the decisions API. And then there's not an immediate feedback. It's you've locked your decision in, now you wait kind of thing. Then what will happen is a certain period of time, maybe, that tick occurs, world event engine calculates, updates the player state based upon that, which might be leaderboard or something like that. Again, we can decide what player state really means, because I wonder if we're almost getting confused between what player state is and what world state is as well. There might be a couple of nuances there.
I wonder whether or not that's a good use for now. Actually, a good thing to do now is to almost start doing a set of almost use cases.
Let's do it.
So I would almost say let's not go anything much fancier than Notepad.
Cool. I'm good with Notepad. I can use Notepad.
So let's just go and add in something in here. We'll go use cases. I'm going to make it a markdown file just so I can highlight stuff.
Nice.
So game start. So new player is probably first state. So new player joins.
Yep.
They are going to be allocated a state.
Yep.
And let's give a concrete example. That might be bar value or bar worth.
Yep. Bar worth, maybe bar name, for example.
Yeah. Bar name, location.
Bar district.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and then that state saved.
Yep.
So they will publish that state effectively. Publish state.
And in that design, we need to accommodate for the fact later a player could have more than one bar.
Yep. Agreed. Not now.
Yeah, exactly. That's just an implementation detail.
So then,
from that point, they're effectively part of the game. They are in the game.
So that's bar enrolled in world, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And then as soon as the next tick comes along, they're then part of that cycle.
So we've got tick. Let's put some headings in.
Which would be part of the world's events engine, effectively.
Now, there's a question here: is because the player doesn't necessarily, does the player make choices in response to a tick, or does the player make choices and then a tick happens?
I think both is the answer. So I think it would be tick, something has happened, you need to react to this.
Pre-tick, post-tick.
That's fair. Yep. So it's almost like tick, we're into this phase, you have a certain period of time where you can respond to this. That's happened. This is the result of that.
I suppose it almost doesn't matter, because effectively you're rolling over to the next one at that point.
Exactly. You're in a new tick.
Every post-tick becomes a pre-tick for something.
I was thinking that.
So we have a... Let's leave it at pre-tick.
Just a tick, isn't it?
Well, you have a tick, which is the world events being applied.
Yep, exactly.
So new world events evaluated.
And then the pre-tick is the new world event generated. As in, remember we talked about the scenario, like this thing is happening.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. New world event generated. Right, and then player decisions made. Which means you've almost got three phases then, haven't you? You've got a that pre-tick. There's generate events applied, and then there's a period between events applied and the next event being generated.
Yep. Yeah, because we wouldn't want to necessarily put the users on a treadmill of you've got to click.
Yeah. So
that's
that's
eventually maybe they'd be able to invest in their bar or something, in between.
So are we saying that a player is going to be able to make a certain number of decisions per cycle?
I think that's fair.
So then they'd also be able to make them either before or after.
Yep.
So then there is a world rules player can make fixed number of decisions per tick cycle.
And it's almost a little bit like a certain board game where you might go around a board and you might land on something, or certain scenario happens, and suddenly you might metaphorically be locked in jail or something, and you can't.
Yes.
Something like that. Let's say.
Yeah, actually, that's nice. That opens up some new opportunities for the world events. Then
Exactly. You've been sent away on a conference. Your
number of decisions is halved.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Or your next cycle, your decisions are doubled or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. No, I like that.
Okay. So players can make it. So in the pre-tick, new world events generated, player decisions are made and stored.
Yep. That's the important bit.
Stored and evaluated?
No, I wouldn't say evaluated yet.
So when do they get evaluated?
I thought they were evaluated as part of that new world event evaluation in that tick below. So it's almost like a big state machine, as in, here's my input, I'm going to do a big reconciliation process, and now we go into the next tick.
So how does that then apply to the post-tick events?
I'm not following. I don't think.
So if you were to say one of the events is, if you every day you had to make a decision as to where you spent your events, Did I make my decisions beforehand or after? If I make my decisions after...
So I always saw Player Decision API as a direct response to a world event, but I see what you're saying. You're thinking of it something more broad, as in I do this on my bar, I invest in this, etc. I'm with you. In which case, you could do them. I agree with what you're saying. You do them either in the pre-tick or the post-tick.
Yeah. Made and applied.
Yep. Because it's almost like the impending, this thing is going to come and happen. Make some decisions and see if you're going to make the right set of decisions to avoid the apocalypse kind of thing.
Yeah. It's almost the classic lemonade stand.
Yeah,
like the old business simulators from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I think there's almost an element of... Again, we need to figure out specific examples. So we can keep arguing in hypotheticals and everything, but I think we need to get to cases to figure out that. But that's fine.
Yeah. So this part here, we are going to need a UI for.
Yep. Which for now,
we can just do a API.
Hand wave. Yeah, exactly. We can just do REST calls for now.
So that is effectively our player state API, isn't it?
Exactly.
So once you've created it, you never directly interact with the game.
Pretty much, unless you wanted to delete the account.
Yeah. So you never vary the values directly.
No.
You only ever do that through decisions. It sounds very CQRS, is that the...
It does, doesn't it? I'm going to read from here, write once, and then something I'll always consume from.
Yep. So this world rules, so the new world event generated is going to be the, what did we call it? I've forgotten now. The world events engine.
Yep.
Engine API. The player decisions made and applied is the...
And would you, just being pedantic here, would you call that an API on line 16? Or is it like...
It's a service, or just engine.
Yeah.
It's a scheduled thing running.
Exactly.
Generate some stuff. Or generating it's a two-phase generation, isn't it? So it's
exactly.
Which makes the daily tick cycle more interesting, I think.
It does. It brings an interesting dynamic to the choices there.
Yeah.
It is the, this thing's going to happen. Better make some decisions. Yeah. I do like that.
Now, what this does mean is that our player decisions API now needs to interact with state.
Yep.
And we need to start storing that state somewhere as well.
Indeed. Which, in fairness, I think we could do a bit of hand waving here and say, you know what, we wired up Dapper to a storage account, so we can just say that is now our player state store.
Yep, but we have a different one for the decisions than we have for...
Yeah, we didn't actually store anything yet, did we? I think we mocked it.
Did we? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Source, player decisions?
Or it was in memory, maybe.
It would be in there somewhere. Oh no, wouldn't it? Would be. Oh no, it was on your. Yeah, it was whatever component you had registered on your machine, wasn't it?
For the player decisions, yes. That one is just going to a storage account. That one.
Is it?
But the one that I'm talking about is the player state, so the one below. Oh, sorry, on the left, in your navigation bar, the left spacebar.player state.
Okay.
That one is exactly, that one's in memory.
Yeah, that's just using a service there that is. Yeah, we in fact we deliberately called it out as being an in-memory one. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the one we'll need to just rewire and do something with.
Yeah. Okay, so are we dappering that one?
I think so. I mean, that would be quite nice because then we got 2 different microservices both using Dapper. Sorry, 2 different languages both using Dapper. Same point.
And we're going to be effectively loading a whole document each time, aren't we? Because Dapper's is Dapper key value, or is it?
It is key value. Yeah, exactly.
So we'd end up with effectively a player ID and
a decision ID separately then.
So that sounds like a good one to start with.
It does. It does.
So in that case, then we are going to need, and I'm going to have to remember how to set up Dapper on my machine, which will be an interesting learning experience anyway. So
I should probably share my config with you as well. In fact, I will mail it to the email you gave me a few months ago.
We should probably have it in the repo as well, or at least.
Well, it has a connection string in it. Is the problem?
Yeah. But you could use. Is it going to an actual storage account?
Currently, yes. Yeah, because remember we had some issues with
local.
Just trying to get the local emulator running. Yeah.
I remember.
It was easier just to go with a storage account.
Look at GitHub Copilot doing a wonderful job.
Isn't it? So what was I doing? I think it was last night. I was writing some Go code ready for another blog I'm writing about interfaces in Go. And it was scary how accurate it was. Like, I'm doing a bank account example, and like, you've got your current account's fine. Savings account you can't transfer into. And it, just from me writing an if statement, it generated the rest of the flow that I wanted. And I was like, including like the logic for, you're probably going for a savings account. You've got this parameter, so you're probably going to decrement this cost as well as a result. It was scary.
I think I've mentioned this last week. I've been going back and revisiting some of the Advent of Code stuff from last year.
Yeah.
And it's completely ruined that as a challenge now. Because literally you just have to type in a comment that just says, this is how the octopuses navigate round a maze.
Yeah.
And it generates all the code for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks, GitHub.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So, right. I need to remember how to set up Dapper. So I have that one. And I think I have it installed. Dapper. Dapper in C#. Getting started with Dapper. This will be a useful one for everyone anyway.
You don't have it on this machine, do you?
I do, but it's been a while since I set it up, and I just want to make sure I've got the right things and the right commands for actually running it.
Completely fair.
So we're definitely going to need that one. We'll just copy the lot and do it that way. Am I in the right project? Which one's this? Player state, isn't it? And that one. So that brings in the right NuGet package. And then I need to bring this up to another screen so I can copy it. Still type at the same time.
I have just emailed you the YAML file, which you should keep very secret.
Client.
And I'm going to add the caveat. Do as what we say, not as we do, if you're listening and watching it. Don't email your secrets around. It's not good. Use a secret store. Which is what we will do when we get there. But for now, do as we say.
You see, now I was out of interest. I was going to go and put it into the components folder in the project. But I know you've had problems running that, haven't you?
Yes, just with my local VS Code environment, because I can't remember if I showed it last time. I may have done actually. What I've set up in VS Code is like a local debug environment for Dapper. So anytime I run the project code alongside it, it will run the Dapper sidecar and everything else, so I can
Right, I remember.
literally debug everything with the program then.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I can't get the components folder working in the same directory. I will say I haven't tried since, so I need to give that another proper go, in fairness.
Client. New Dapper client. Oh no, new Dapper client builder dot build. I don't know whether that'll work. Can I do that? A read only? Should be able to. And then that one I should be able to do client dot get state async bubble player state id dot string. Right. Wonderful. Now, do I make that async task player state just so I can do that? It's going to break all sorts of things then. Return await. What's up with that? Oh, GitHub Copilot's failed me on this one. What's wrong
I was
with
going to
that?
say, sometimes it thinks there's things which aren't there. Oh, it is. Store name.
Oh, I'm missing a parameter, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, so we just. Oh,
There you go.
let's just give it a private read only. Oh no, constant. String state store name.
That looks like a good. This is what I mean. Like, I was writing code the other day, and it was just like that. I was like, okay, then sure, why not?
Yeah,
Take the thinking away from me.
It does kind of kill these kind of streams.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, okay, that well.
Let's just let Copilot.
You've been watching GitHub Copilot with a bit of Matt and Chris doing some typing
the
here. And there.
unofficial third member.
You know what? I'm really tempted to update the banner for this and just have like your photo, my photo, and then the GitHub Copilot. Because it does feel like that. I agree.
So the only thing that's not going to do is, does the Dapper client, does it do upserts?
It just does a blind. You've given me this key, so I'm going to save. So if it's there,
Yes.
great. If it's not there, great.
Yeah.
So that's to your question. Yes, it will upset.
That should do it. Right, that should be it. And then, oh, does it do deletes as well? I'm not sure.
Dapper, yes. I think it's removes state async.
Oh, there we go.
Or delete state async. There we go. Now I think we would need to do a check first. Or would we? In fact, I think that's down to a provider level, a component level implementation detail.
I just need to go and go back to my interface and make all these task, blah. And then just to make sure, I need to go back and run that one so that it changes all those. Task, blah. And then I would need to do a return that one. Thanks, Copilot. That as well, couldn't I think? Dump all of that into there. Does that work? No. Maybe I should do that one.
This is where I say I should have been paying attention. I was just trying to dig out what Dapper will do for a delete. And I
Let's do that one, I think.
don't think it is so intelligent.
Oh,
So I
now I do. Oh, I need that. That's why. That's better. Why is that not like existing player state there? Existing player state is not null.
Is it? It's not null, or was it complaining about the type there? Cannot convert from threading
Oh,
type.
okay. Player state, existing place. Oh, it's because I suspect.
Do you need to just do an await instead of in front of the get there? On line 22?
Maybe. Or just dot wait, because it's I'm not doing it async in this one. Or dot result, maybe. Like that should collapse it. That's better.
Yep.
Right. Got there in the end.
Oh, there was another one further down there.
Yeah, it's because I haven't done.
There we go. Yeah, just on the Dapper side of things, I was just looking at the state management API. Response codes you get back are either 200, so successful, 400 state stores missing or configured, and 500 the query failed. And what isn't clear
It's how it handles it in the SDKs.
Yeah.
Right, so that should now be good. That one should now be good. Right, okay, so delete state async. What was it complaining about then? I wonder if it actually just needs, it probably doesn't need a, there we go. That's why, because it's just deleting by an ID, so it doesn't need the type.
Nice.
Okay, so if I now want to run that, you sent me a command, didn't you?
I may have sent you a file, which you may want to store off screen somewhere.
I am definitely storing that off screen. Which mechanism did you use to send that to me?
Carrier pigeon.
Excellent.
No, it was email to the email you gave in the chat
okay.
we had going.
Oh, right, I got you. Yeah, got that one. Right, so I need that one to not open just there. What do I
Like
do
that? I will rotate the key.
You say that one. Yes.
And I will message you in the chat that we've got the new one. That sounds slow.
Yeah, it was always going to open somewhere.
It was.
Right, okay. So I've deleted that for now.
Cool.
Not it's a bit late after the horse was bolted. Never mind.
I knew it was going to happen. I was like, at what point is it going to happen? Let's see.
So I need that to go into a folder which is home.
Yeah, it'll be in home.dapper and then components.
User.dapper. I do have it. Excellent. So there we go. There's me. I want to, as soon as you sent that through, I will then take that off the screen.
Right. That is now sent. I'll rotate it out.
I'm going to move that to another screen. Like that. There is my new key. I'll get rid of it off that one. Don't want it on there. Before I make exactly the same mistake again.
And this is exactly what you do in production, everyone, okay? This is how it works. This is a live, no downtime, lots of sarcasm. Please don't do this.
We want to... Where was that just saved that to? Ah, okay. Right. Saved it to the wrong place.
Just while you're saving that, what I will say is, if we were doing this in production, we would probably, or I would potentially say we might go along the lines of Azure Container Apps, because then what we can do is pull in some of these secrets as part of that actual Container Apps deployment then, and get rid of the need for a lot of this, which is quite nice.
So our state store was player decisions, isn't it? Oh no, we need a new one, don't we? Because that's the one for player decisions. I need a new one for player state, don't I?
Correct, but it will, if you just give it the name, it will create it, I believe.
Just give it. If I change if I change that YAML file, change the table name and the metadata name, that should be fine, shouldn't it?
Exactly. I believe it will create it for table storage if it's not there.
I'm going to get rid of that space, that hyphen in there, just to eliminate the possibility. It doesn't like it.
Yeah, the name of the table to be used for Dapper state. The table will be created for you if it doesn't exist. Just in case anyone is.
Yeah, so one of the things you can do with Dapper, which I've always liked, is this idea of you can actually store those component files, the local component files you need for local development, inside the project. And at that point, you would then use the Azure Storage Emulator or something like it, or Azure Write, or whatever the equivalent is these days to be able to do that. Right, so those are there. So I now need to run. Now I've made the interesting decision of starting this up in the Windows part of my machine rather than the WSL. So this is going to be an interesting one.
Oh, that's fun, because I'm actually running in WSL. So we're doing both sides.
Okay. So I now need to do. Oh, no, I can do it off that one there, can I? So I need to do a Dapper run. What's our app ID? Is that just anything?
Anything we want it to be called, yeah.
App ID, and this is player state .NET run.
That's it. Uh-oh. Oh, file does not exist.
Damn.
Did you happen to install it in WSL before?
I think I might have done. What I'm going to do is very quickly I'm going to commit all this and then switch over to WSL and open it again from there.
And for anyone who's trying to figure out what on earth you just said there, by the way, this is a really, really, I think, powerful bit about now development in Windows, is that you have got Windows subsystem for Linux. It's just like having Linux running on your own OS. Because we're using Git and GitHub, we can just push the code up to the GitHub repo and then pull it back down, running in that WSL environment where all your dev tooling's installed. Really
I might need to go and get this from. So there's my PowerShell on my Windows machine, and there is my Ubuntu 20 version there. So that I can now go cd dev, cd home. What have we got in there? There's my blog. So let's do. Go and grab the latest version of that, which I have here. If I do git home. There. That should be it, isn't it? So I want to do git checkout, and it's go/web server, isn't it? I think it's the current branch we're in. Go-web server.
Yes.
Preview.
Preview slash. Yes. Yeah. The other thing you'll need to do is copy that YAML file from your...
I'm all ready to do that bit. So now I'm opening up the same code base, inside WSL, inside my Ubuntu kernel that's
Nice.
running, which is awesome. And now the wonderful thing about this is that when I bring up my terminal, I get a bash terminal rather than a PowerShell terminal. So I'm going to copy those files across. That's in home, my name, Dapper, components. There.
That's it.
And then let's just make sure I've got that right state in.
Yep.
So has that got my Dapper state memory? Yes. Right. So Dapper.
You'll need to
run.
CD into the correct folder.
Oh yeah, well done. This is why pair programming works, people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Dapper run minus app ID.
That's it.
Dash ID.
Whatever friendly name.
Player state. .run. So to go through for people that are watching, we're effectively saying start up the Dapper containers or the Dapper sidecar, and then attach them to the running process, which is the thing that we specify at the end.
Exactly. Da, 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 da. Oh.
Ooh. So I've got some old components now, which I
Yes.
just need to clear out briefly.
That is my one slight bugbear, is that it will pull everything. There's no escape.
There we go. Got there in the end. Right, so I will just move those out of there.
Yeah, that's my one bugbear, I think, is if you've got stuff in the components folder, it will just load everything. Thinking, you might need some of this, so I'm going to load it all.
Yeah, I know you can do it on that Dapper. Can't you? To only pick some things, but that command line then becomes pretty massive.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to have a kind of a config flag for Dapper to say default to this or default to this. There we go.
Apps building, that's a good sign.
That's a good
did everything
sign.
run all right?
Things. Oh, stop. Oh, working. Maybe.
We've got something there.
That looks promising. I'm going to load up the Azure.
Oh yeah, that's just warnings.
We don't care about warnings.
No. Well, in the real world, you would treat warnings as errors and then fix them. But
Exactly.
so I should now be able.
I can see a clear state table in my storage account, so that implies that it worked.
So did we have a test client for that? We do have an HTTP test.
And I'm just going to...
Now, you know what I've forgotten to do, don't you?
What's that?
Right now, it's still going to be using my internal implementation of the state store. Because I've got dependency injection in, which I thought was super clever by saying, let's just do that.
Gotcha.
And actually, what I really want to do is replace it with that. Terrible name. So now when we call it, if I then try that test again, 2188 player state. Why not got REST client installed? WSL?
I found the same. There's so many little things that you're used to using in one environment, not the other. There you go. That's it.
I ought to just pick on one, to be honest, and just say that's the way going forward. I'm either going to do all development in WSL or I'm going to do it all on Windows.
I've defaulted to WSL now.
I can't let go.
I think for me, it's just heritage of like uni. We were all very Linux heavy, so
Yeah. Right, I got a player updated message. Have
Right.
you got data?
This is the big question. I have data.
That's great.
Don't act surprised. It's all
More
good.
importantly, that worked first time. Let's be
I
more
mean, yeah, it
established.
did work first time, which is impressive. Yeah, it's all there. The full objects.
Okay, that's cool.
And this is to your point earlier, by the way, about how does Dapper store things, key value pair, exactly as I was saying. You know,
Yeah,
you've got your key
it's
there.
one of those things we've been having as a debate recently is the value of Dapper, and one of the downsides to it is that you're dealing with effectively a lowest common denominator for these services, because it's effectively abstracting away either table storage or S3 or Cosmos or whatever other underlying store provider is. You're effectively dealing with the lowest common. But for what we're doing, that's fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It feels like they almost need to have like an I state interface almost, and then an I partition state.
Yeah.
Because like you can see here with table storage, and the same with Cosmos, right? But with table storage, you've got partition key and row key. Yeah. And it's fundamentally based upon having a good partition key and row key to get to the right dock. Whereas this, as it grows, is going to be a bit painful, of course. But as you say, you abstract away from the problem, you go common denominator, and it's not going to be as optimized, and that's a downside. But
I mean, the interesting part about that is that in theory, we could write the states to the same table as and just rely on the partition key to segregate. I wouldn't advise doing that, but you could do it.
Do you want to update your component file and try? I'm just curious now.
Player state. So if I hang on, I might need to open that on another screen. So
I have turned your screen off momentarily for your own sanity.
Thank you very much.
I should have a nice little "we are working on hold" construction kind of image, shouldn't I?
Let's go and open it in a separate Ubuntu.
This program will be resumed shortly.
Yes. Caught it in time, but it's fine. So in there, so if I change my state to point at my player decisions,
yes,
and then rerun it, and then resubmit, that in your player decisions you should now have one of each.
I do.
I'm not sure I would advocate doing that, but
I wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't is that fundamental microservice principle of separate microservices, separate databases, separate concerns.
I mean, you could arguably think about them as being separate entities, because
they are.
From a pure, I know you're not supposed to think about them in terms of schema, but ultimately, if you're looping over data in that table and suddenly you encounter a whole block of stuff, you end up with some pretty ugly if statements.
Yeah, I wouldn't do this. This kind of approach starts creating a distributed monolith, in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let me
where you get the worst of both worlds rather than the best.
And let's just triple check that we're back where we were. So you should now have a new... Oh no, you should have an updated version of the... In fact, I should be able to retrieve it actually as well.
You should, yes.
Ooh. Oh, it's because it's a big object.
Oh, hold on, let me...
Oh,
wow. That's really not happy.
How did we do the... Oh, is that coming back from Dapper?
What response code did you get?
500, I think. Yeah, 500.
And 500 on the state store, if I remember rightly, was.
But I don't think that's a state store problem. I think that's a MVC trying to reserialize stuff back out again. Which is odd, because I would have thought that would have been allowed. So that is would be in there. So that would be getting that result is that, I think. So that object is too big. There is a way of controlling that. Quick to the internet.
It's not that big of a JSON object.
No, that's what's surprising me actually as well. I would have expected that. It's almost like the way it's talking, it's almost like it's the Swagger stuff that's causing the problem. But I don't know why the Swagger would be getting involved at that point, because it's not. I'm not requesting something from Swagger. Let's comment out the Swagger, see what happens. That's it.
Yeah, that is a little strange, actually.
Go and do that again. No, it doesn't like that at all. Well, how frustrating. In my web API.
Authorization middleware now.
Oh, it's moved it down, is it?
Yeah.
This can happen because you have a your data has a reference loop. I think this is to do with the complicated model we created. I think it's trying to do. So we have an employee. It's also the fact that I've got identical GUIDs and all this.
That shouldn't matter in theory.
Well, I wonder whether it's trying to, because it's trying to build an object.
It's just trying to pass them as different object IDs.
Yeah, and it's trying to build a kind of reference thing. How weird. It actually does seem like the Newtonsoft.json will work, whereas the system.this might be an issue with system.txt. So this is the article I'm looking at, just so that everyone can see. So because it's got a reference back to the parent object. But I can't see why we would have that in ours.
No, but that might be an underlying Zapper implementation detail, perhaps.
Yeah, it could be.
Just try swapping out.
Let's just generate some new GUIDs. Let me try and generate GUID gen on WSL, isn't it? I think. UID gen. Yeah. So let's just generate some new bits. So we have a bar with an ID there.
That would be a really nice VS Code extension. Right-click, generate GUID.
So I know REST client has a placeholder thing where you can just put in a bracket new GUID and it will just generate you one every time you call it. which is really cool. But we'd actually, ironically, we don't want that. We want known things. Species there, district there, and then inventory item is the only other one. Oh, and I'll add another record in. Although actually, if I submit that now, that should overwrite the one that's there, shouldn't it?
Yes. The answer to your question, yes.
And then go back and do send. No, it doesn't like that at all.
What happens if you replace system.txt with Newtonsoft?
Yeah, I was just going to have a look at that. It was hinted at in there. So there we go. Services.add.mvc. There's a reference loop handling. Ignore. There we go. I think that will need some further investigation, but so use MVC. Oh, I'm not using MVC. What's that happening on? If not using MVC, so add controllers. There you go. I think I will need to do a .NET add package Newton soft.json.
There you go.
I should now. I'm guessing I need to do a using. I'm missing something. What am I missing? Newtonsoft. Reference handling.
Try build it, just see what happens. Is it just an old syntax warning?
Yeah, it could be. Let me just search for that one.
Is it the capitalization that's the problem? Add Newtonsoft JSON.
So look where that one was copied straight from.
Oh no, it is right.
And that one copied there. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it should be in that one. Feel like I'm down a rabbit hole here. That's the .NET 3, which we won't be running. That's F# as well, which doesn't help. Oh, I don't like the sound of this.
Oh. Have references to systems.txt.json that maybe we can just switch out rather than try and be.
No, because it'll be happening in the middleware. It'll be in the JSON result.
Okay. Let's think then.
So let's try that one then instead. Let's just throw random packages and see what happens.
Because that seems fine from a dependency and pipeline of things that could go into our app.
There you go. It's fixed it now, though. And it's fixed it.
Yeah, there we go. Fixed.
Well, what's that? Whoa, no, that's returned. I'm not returning something right there. Me get isn't right. Hang on. Hold on. Get by ID. Await. Get state async.
Was it just the fact that the JSON was trying to deserialize with the wrong information? Do we need to be more specific? Was that what was happening?
So, unless I've got... Hang on a minute. I think I know why. It's because I've updated the service to be async, but I haven't updated the controller. I'll do these others as well. I'm surprised that one worked at all.
So the object was getting wrapped then.
I love async and await, but the minute you start using it, you have to use it.
It's
where.
Yep.
So let's now send that one. That's been updated. And then let's do a get. And we've got the data back.
That looks better.
That's much better.
I wonder if that was the problem before as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering now as well. So let's go and have a look.
Yeah.
Let's take that chunk out. Stick that one back in there. Post, that still works. Oh yeah, there we go.
So do you know what? This raises a really good point here actually about the importance of things like unit testing and mocking and stubbing, etc.
Yeah.
Because something like that, if you add that, make those changes to the controllers like we had, we would have caught that in the tests. And we would have probably figured, hold on, something's changed here, what's going on? Oh, we forgot to go async.
Yeah, and actually, I think, and I suspect, if we'd have looked closer at what had actually been saved to the store, we would have seen it as well.
Well, actually, in the store, it was all fine. It was just passing out as normal JSON. Like I've got the output here.
So it actually did work.
Yeah.
Well, that's bizarre. Oh, yeah, because that's happening in the service. So it's not the thing that's being returned.
Of course, yeah. So it's got a good state that it can pass on. Yeah,
it's already good state that it's saving.
It's the other way around. Yeah.
And the problem with the return value, because you were returning a serialized version of a task, which would contain effectively circular references to.
Yep.
There
we go.
But yes. Absolutely, we agree. Unit tests are a good thing, apparently. Still not going to write it.
I was going to say that's not what we're going to do right now, anyway.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got that now stored in Dapper. So we've got two microservices now storing their stuff in Dapper.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, storing their stuff via Dapper in table storage. Let me be specific.
So, do we want to now modify the player decisions? Because according to our use cases, the player decisions are made and applied. So effectively, we would have the player decision will need to impact the player state.
Seems sensible. Let's get them interacting.
Are you happy to go back to Go since it's your baby?
Sure. Let me bring this back up. Just closing that YAML file. Although I haven't updated my key yet, so that's okay. Right, let me pull the latest down here as well. Right. Okay, so what are we going to do here?
Actually, while you're doing that, I'm going to commit my changes into it as well.
So we've got an interesting challenge at this point. And I'm just kind of thinking through the challenge. It's not a huge challenge. It's not unsolvable, but it's worth talking about. We've got two different microservices.
Yep.
We don't necessarily know what one microservice is called and what the other microservice is called. So service discovery, effectively.
Yes.
Can get handled really nicely inside of Dapper, as you and I both know.
Yes.
Because we can just run both of those both of those apps as Dapperized apps, so they each have a sidecar running.
Yep.
And can easily call the other. To get that running locally is probably harder than getting it running in something like container apps, to be honest.
Yes.
Which is the irony here.
But it almost is it? I don't know, because you could be effectively doing.
Okay, now let me caveat that. To get it just running, they would be just as easy as each other.
So this is the problem that Project Tie is supposed to solve.
I've heard of Tie. I've forgotten which one this is now.
So Project Tie, if I go and find the PR page.
This was the one about having dependencies on multiple microservices, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this is so it's about a local development experience. So it's about basically having a single, and it's almost like a YAML file for memory. And it was still in preview last time I saw. But it was basically saying, I want to do tie run front end, and it would.
And it's bringing up the services all together. Yes,
services that I all need to run to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that was going to be more my point. Is container apps, you could deploy a bicep file which deploys all of the various apps you need. You could run them all locally with Dapper Run, but what I was thinking of in particular was that debug experience locally as well. But again, that's not horrendous. It's doable.
I mean, the reality is we've got to do some Docker file work at some point as well.
We do.
And the minute we've done the Docker file work, I think Tie would be an interesting one to experiment, just purely because I've never used it, and I get the idea and I get the promise of it. I've not seen it in action.
Is it something we want to try today, or do we want to leave it?
I think we might want to leave that for another day.
Cool.
I think our next session, I think what we want to do, if I'm preempting what we want to do next time, is I think we want to create Docker files for all the services.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's fair.
And then be able to have the player state and player decisions spun up and debugged at the same time locally, using Dapper to call between them.
Agree.
I think that's a good objective. Like I say, we've got wherever it's 20 minutes or so now.
Yep.
Because this time again has flown by so dramatically. You might just want to do a pull on the.
Cool. Thank you.
Just because
yeah, this is what I was thinking. By the way, this is what I was really badly trying to explain in my head. This is how I debug my Go app running Dapper as a sidecar.
Yeah.
But we could do something like. No, I've not tried this. I'm literally making this up on the fly. So let's see.
No, I think it's .NET usually.
It's .NET, isn't it?
Yeah.
Leave it as that for now. Anyway, launch. This is going to be the
state.
Yeah, player state with Dapper.NET, and then we're going to go player state.
Yeah.
And then Ah, yes, I remember my issue from last time that I didn't fix. Add passwords.
Yeah.
And just in case.
So that's just running Dapper-D.
Exactly. So that would be my local kind of daemon equivalent doing the same thing. Dapper up, bring it up, dapper down, tearing it down, and then just passing in, the app ID that's appropriate for each of those environments. Then just put the dash decision. Oops, inside the string. Oops. Dash decisions, and then we're going to call this player state. What port should we have player states running on? 8081. There we go. Very creative. There we go. Now I'm curious. Does it know what to do?
So I was just reading the GitHub site for Project Tie. The headline bullet points are: run many services with one command, use dependencies in containers, discover addresses of other services using simple conventions.
That sounds like what
we need.
I'm just looking at this, by the way. Make sure the value of authorization header is formed correctly.
Why have you got an authorization header?
I got no idea. Oh, I know why. It's not that authorization. It's that other authorization. Bear with, I'm going to take this off screen. Yeah.
Is that because we haven't changed? You haven't changed the key?
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
So let me just access keys, show keys, copy that over to there. And the only reason I knew is that wasn't a .NET log. It looked like a Go output.
Yeah.
So back. And let's try that again, see if it can recognize the .NET. Yeah, configure debug type .NET is not supported. So
I'll find one.
Yeah.
The one you want for .NET is I'll have it. It's label core CLR maybe.
Core CLR. Yes.
For type. And then the request will be launch. Yeah, that's right.
Interesting. Doesn't like core CLR. How is that? Because I don't have.
Core CLR request launch mode. I don't think you need. I don't know what that one is.
Is it because I don't have C# extension installed?
Try .NET. Just do a .NET version.
Specified.
Might be .NET -- version.
Yeah.
You've got it's on there by the looks of it. So
there we go. Yep. But I've just installed the there we go. I installed the C# extension. That
and now
warning has now gone away.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's see. Nope. Let's try that again.
don't forget you'll need the player state component filing as well. Off screen.
Oh, I've already updated that.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry. True. Yes,
Just
good point.
now.
Yeah, I didn't add that one in. Yes.
Copy the one that's
sorry.
there and just change the player decisions to player state. Off screen.
I do this. We learn from each other's mistakes.
Until the next time when we'll do exactly.
Oh, absolutely. And then we rotate again. Right, player decisions. Player states. Update ToolUp Tuesday. That is the account key. Player states. State. Now. That did not play ball. Let me just check.
Having a look at the issues list for Project Tie, there seems to be a lot there that are linked to Dapper configuration problems.
Oh, interesting.
That's not a good sign.
Maybe that's one we leave for future us.
Yeah.
So tables, player state is the correct name. Okay.
I know that might be other people's problems.
Did you call the component just player state?
Yes.
Interesting. Let me bring that back up. So I still seem to be getting the same issue here. I'm just going to close that. Alright, so Dapper runtime, info, metric server.
Player state. So I'm just having a look now. What's the? So this is where I get lost slightly on the Dapper D command.
Yeah, so all that is doing is effectively the same as Dapper run.
Right,
So
okay.
Dapper run, app ID is player state, app port is 8281.
But you haven't got
Components
a .NET run command on there either.
That is true.
So is that your pre-launch task?
Oh, is
I'm
it
guessing?
pre-launch?
So that pre-launch. So if you can have a look at that task, what's that task doing? Run options, maybe.
So I'm just thinking. No, that's not run. Hold on. Let me go back to the Dapper docs. Debug this code.
Blah, blah, blah. So Dapper D down. I'm curious as to where it happens for your.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I didn't add anything, because that's literally all I have. I think it's handled at the.
Try. Oh no, because in the core CLI part, there's a pre-launch task I have, which is where it runs the build command or runs the attach command.
And I think that's the problem here.
Try doing attach.
Where,
Instead
sorry?
of launch.
As our request attached, just like that. Okay.
Oh no, that won't work because now it's expecting it doesn't like the program.
Well, that's okay,
So-
because I could just. Oh, does it need the DLL?
Yeah, you'd still need a launch task and then an attach task. Yeah, no, so the launch should be right. No, I don't know what's going on there. I think so. Keep that launch. Get rid of the mode. I don't know what that's doing.
That might just be a Go thing, to be fair.
Uh,
Oh, no, don't load that up, don't load that up.
Almost.
Got it off screen.
Dapper debugging.net core. There we go. Ah, there we go. That's the one you want.
Oh,
and it's a bit more complicated than that. Drop that in our chat as well.
Oh well, that is quite a bit.
So I don't know why you would need the rest of that. Oh, task.json. It's got the there's a task.json there as well. Dapper debug. That doesn't seem that easy, does it?
No. I'm trying to understand what it's doing. Like, that's quite significantly different. Launch, pre-launch tappers, Dapper debug. Programmers do that. Stop entry.
So I think you can get rid of that problem matcher stuff that's in the task.
Hmm.
It's going to do Dapper debug and then attach.
But where does it do the attach is what I'm trying to...
So it's in the launch. There's a second block. There's two blocks there.
Yeah, so I see that one. Oh, it's part of the same... No, but that's a separate config, though.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the same as, like, having the launch decision API with Dapper. Or launch player state
And then having attached to existing process type.
Yeah. Let me jump back to the Dapper. So, load origins, app ID.
How did you debug Dapper applications for your studio? Right, okay, launch JSON. That's the Node version.
Just complicating it, so we just need to add a pre-launch and a post-debug task to like what the .NET ones would be.
They would.
So if I do something like add config launch a .NET Core console app. And then if I did something like pre-launch task something like that. Assume I have to update that. That's just not a
Do you want to know an interesting thing?
Sure.
I don't know whether this will work. Hit F1. Dapper scaffold Dapper task.
Oh.
Launch player state with Dapper.
Isn't that what I have set up?
Well, this will generate it again.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm hoping, anyway.
So we're going to launch player state. I would have thought this. I will.
Yeah, if you need to almost revert all the changes you've got in both of those. Try again. Launch player state with Dapper.
So let's go player state. Yeah, sure.
Overwrite.
Great.
So So in your other one, the
launch.
Launch, that's the one I wanted.
Right. So which one are you?
Do you know what I would be tempted to do? Delete all the stuff you've done and then rerun that again.
Apart from decision.
Yeah.
Decision
yeah,
is staying. So I'm going to do this. Play a decision.
So literally everything from 15 down, is it?
Exactly.
Now save them and then try that again.
Oh. So you've got to have the initial .NET version, because what it's going to do is wrap it. So now we need to get the .NET build to work in VS Code. So that'll be
so you should be able to just what I've usually done is just hit F5, don't you?
I'll need to be in the right folder.
Why have you got red squiggles there?
Because it's just going based upon the run and debug, which is there. It's not configured yet.
Right, okay.
So let's go back to that. So I think what I was onto maybe was going down the right path. Add config, launcher.net console app.
Yeah.
And then we'll say launch state version of .NET I'm on is that. But that's not going to be the right debug output, is it? Right, hold on. Source, player state, .NET build. Can't type. And then you're going to want spacebar.playerstate.dll, just like that. So now if I launch player state, could not find the task builds.
Yeah, because then you need the. I can drop you one in the chat for another project I have. You just need to. So these are the tasks. You might have to fix the formatting on that.
I can do that.
Oh, and the paste doesn't work very well in that private chat as well. I'll email this one over to you.
Half of it?
Yeah. That should be winging its way to you now. We need a better way of sharing stuff, don't we?
We do. We do.
Discourse time, is it Slack time? I don't think professionally, I don't think we can use Slack.
Exactly. Do that. Do that. over. That one. Do that for that one. Do that for that one. Okay. Now task errors. Wonderful. I love errors. Said no one. Right. But it doesn't give me any errors, so let's see if you're just lying, VS Code. Could not find the task build. Oh, I'm an idiot. Copy and paste faux pas. Oh dear.
Copied and pasted too much.
I did. I did.
That looks better.
What does it generate? Player state generates a. It should be spacebar.playerstate.dll.
That is what I have. Oh, but I'm not in the right directory. That's the problem. There we go. That's better.
Promising. Right, okay. So now do the magic.
F1. Scaffold. Yes.
Yes.
Player state. Sure. Okay. That looks like some stuff. And then I'm just going to change that to .net. .net. Change this one to .net. Oh, actually, I'm not going to call it .net. Sorry, that's a rubbish name. Player state. How are the replies? Scale. Right. Oh.
Address already in use. You need a different IP address. Port, by the looks of it.
So I obviously didn't kill something. That will be right.
It's looking promising.
So now the question. I will need to add some extra configuration to my Dapper config because right now Dapper is expecting 5016, whereas the app is listing on 5001, and we're not specifying in Dapper to remap anywhere yet. So I'll need to do something like.
I was gonna say, I thought that the HTTP port, isn't it? I guess.
Yes. Will be, what was it? Was it 5100?
5001, I think.
Right numbers, wrong order. Oh. So I'm not killing it off right. Right, that's just a local config thing I need to sort out. That's basically saying the Dapper down thing isn't working.
Working yet?
Oh, or not? No.
Is that the right?
I think it's the
right way
app
round?
port. I think it's the app port that needs to be 5001.
2001, and then that one needs to be.
Okay.
So you should now be able to get that on
15016, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you do the get request, it's stored in the. I don't know whether you've got. You need you need an ID, which is in the HTTP file that's in that project.
Oh.
So HTTP test,
Uh,
and at the bottom, scroll right down. There's a get request there. Yeah, so you need to change that to 5016, I think, wasn't it?
It was. That did not look promising.
Is that right? Try 5001.
Bugs.
I'm confused now. Is that going through Dapper?
I think it is. Yeah, it is. It is going through Dapper because it's got a call. Yeah.
So the thing we'll find next week is when we try to make the decision service call the state service, and then we'll know whether or not the Dapper config is wiring everything up properly.
Yeah. Because effectively what we've said is... And I need to get my terminology right here now. The app port, as in the application itself, is listening on 5001. But if we want to communicate with the Dapper sidecar for
That's
that
right.
one
Yeah.
over HTTP, it's
Yeah.
on 5016. So actually, we don't need that at all. All we need to do is that.
Yeah.
If I rerun that again, and do that, it should just all run. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
That makes sense.
Yep. There we go. So that sets us up nicely then for next week to do some inter-service calls and maybe not play with Project Tie. Maybe just stick as we are with VS Code and this debugging kind of experience. But that was a good tip though, actually, about the F1 thing. Otherwise,
I can't take credit for it. I found it on a blog post that was complaining about how to set up Dapper for debugging CLR.
But this, honestly, though, I think this is just a really good thing to maybe land before we wrap up here. This debug experience of VS Code can be super, super powerful.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've got a debug experience for the Decisions API there, for .NET on its own, .NET then with...
Oh, he's gone. Oh, we've had a full failure. So yeah, I think where Chris was going was a fascinating one. Is that actually the amount of power you have with VS Code to debug these things? He's back. He's back.
It
He's
does.
not back.
I am back.
Oh, good. You disappeared.
Yes, it did its thing. Of course, just before we...
I'm going to say it's lasted well.
Yeah, it's lasted pretty well,
It's
actually.
been a while since I've been left standing staring at myself for a little while.
But having said that, I have just noticed earlier that Restream has added a beta feature and my tier is allowed to add an additional seat. So I did send you an invite to be able to admin this now.
I've got it. I'll be filling the forms out as soon as I can.
There we go. But no, I think that's some good progress. We were looking at the power of VS Code debugging.
Yep.
You know, that's what we stumbled upon today, which seems to be the case, doesn't it? Each one of these sessions we stumble upon something and it's a good talking point.
Yeah, and it's highlighted just how much into the weeds you still need to get.
Yep.
And actually it goes back to a conversation we were having actually before the stream started about JavaScript development and about the build tooling that's needed for JavaScript. And actually
Yes.
VS Code is built with that mentality.
Yep, true.
So, you know, everything is there, everything is extensible, everything's configurable. But you're going to have to start editing some JSON files or some YAML files or something to be able to get it to work.
Yeah, indeed. But I think more good progress at this time. We've got that second service wired up with Dapper to table storage. We've got some debugging configured in VS Code. It's now a case of getting the inter-service calls going, which in theory, famous last words, but in theory shouldn't be
too
difficult, because it's just a case of using each well, which way around are we going? The Go SDK to call the service of the app name that is already registered with Dapper. So in theory, shouldn't be too difficult, but let's see. We stumbled on some interesting things today.
Absolutely. It's been fun again though, mate.
It has. It flies by, as always, but thank you for joining. And for those who have been listening in along the way, you can see we've got some people on Twitch at the minute. We have had a few people dropping in and out. I haven't been keeping an eye on LinkedIn. LinkedIn looks quite quiet tonight. But yes, thank you, everyone. We will be back same time, same place in 2 weeks. Awesome. See you all soon. Bye for now, folks.